Here's a few pieces of advice for parents or coaches who are coaching, kids who are normal athletes. Number one, make sure they're not overweight. Obviously, I've had a couple kids who, dad's 6'4", football player, mom's tall. They're just a big family. So, some kids have a little bit of baby fat. Look at these football linemen. They're freakishly talented athletes. You can nitpick Gable Stevenson and say, you could lose a few pounds. No, so I'm not talking about those kind of athletes, but, generally speaking, your kids may be better athletes than you think. They're just not wrestling a weight class. They're getting manhandled because they're not agile and they're not powerful because they need to lose 5 pounds. So make sure that's not the case. Secondly, you definitely want to get them lifting weights early. Athleticism is a lot about agility and the nervous system's ability to maybe communicate with the muscle fiber. So dumbbell lifting is mandatory. Just 3 sets of 12. You can superset, go from one to the other. 25 minutes. You can even lift weights with your kids 2 days a week for 25 minutes. It's a good way to spend time with your kids. I did that with my son when he was a wrestler. A lot of fun. So that will help tremendously. So losing a little bit of weight if needed. And you can, the body can learn coordination. That's the reason you couldn't tie your shoe when you were a little kid, but now you can, right? You're coordinated. How about typing at a computer? Some people can't type at a computer. Some people can. Most of us can by now. But it was very difficult in the beginning. So you can learn athleticism. And I think weightlifting is very important for doing that. And third, make sure they're not trying to wrestle like a freak athlete. I put videos out about this before. Kendall Cross was my teammate in college, and he was Olympic champion. He says, he had to develop a style of wrestling that worked for somebody that wasn't explosive and strong and powerful. Now, he's a great athlete, but different. His balance is probably very few human beings on planet Earth have had his ability to, he's like a cat, right? And completely flexible and double jointed. You just literally, they used to call him Gumby. But I didn't see, he actually beat me for 3rd place at the US Open one year. And I trained with him quite a bit. Great guy. But, when I wrestled against him or drilled or, wrestled in practice, it was like, he always felt like he was going to step over you, put you on your back or something. So I didn't really think his flexibility was that big of a deal as much as his balance. But he won the Olympic title, gold medalist. So he just quit he didn't try to wrestle like a Jordan Burroughs or, someone who's really fast on their feet, light-footed like Jason Nolf. Sarah Hildebrandt just won the Olympics, right? You're not going to try to wrestle like her. So make sure that they're wrestling a style that works for them. And I think for almost all, we preach it. And I tell kids, once you rank top 20 in America, then we can just kind of you can start to individualize it a little bit. But as a great approach, just focus on holding your position and score every chance you get. Wrestle patient. It's better to win 3-0 than 21-18, 12-9. That's not good wrestling. I'd rather win 3-0. Now, I'd rather pin everybody and tech everybody, but that's not going to happen. So if we have a good match, you and I, and it's high scoring, that's sloppy wrestling. It's like a t-ball game. It's 54-69. That's stupid, right? So make sure that they wrestle a patient style of wrestling, and they're not trying to score from far away, and they're not trying to, scramble and crab ride and do crazy athletic stuff. And they're wrestling very simple. Hard, basic, simple wrestling is what they do in college, okay? So, you know, a lot of times the best athletes in kids wrestling and even in high school, when they go to the high-level high school events, they get their head beat in and they got to get simple again. So make sure you're doing that. I know a guy was a 3-time D1 NCAA All-American. He said that. I used to be so good and tough and simple. I won everything, and then I started getting fancy, and then I got in college. I had to get simple again. I think that's true. And I would say lastly, let them know that they are great athletes, but that a lot of their lack of success right now is probably because of the maturity gap. A lot of times the better athletes, they're actually not even... There's a nice little box turtle. Good thing my grandkids aren't here. They'd be taking him home. So a lot of times the better athletes, they're emotionally more mature, physically more mature. They're not really even better athletes sometimes. Sometimes they are. But a lot of times, you know, there's just kind of a maturity. So make sure you talk to your kids about that and just let them know that, hey, you know what? The little crazy kid that runs the football for 2,000 yards is also really good on a wrestling mat. But see, because I'll take those kids and I'll get them to my wrestling camps, and I'm like, I don't say this to them, but I know it's going to happen. They don't know anything. They're just winning sheerly off of athleticism and emotional and physical maturity. And I always say, you know, once these kids start hitting the maturity ages, things level out very quickly. So just let your kids know that, hey, we got to be in it for the long haul. That wrestler's not better than you. He's just an athletic freak right now, very mature, and it's not a problem. We're going to catch him. But let's focus on the ABCs and the skills of wrestling. Cute little guy. And we're going to win a bunch of tournaments because we're going to lose a little bit of weight when we need to. We're going to lift weights. We're going to wrestle a patient, smart style of wrestling. We're going to become monster leg riders, which is mandatory. That's the best way to take the athleticism away from your opponent. We're going to wrestle from underhooks, take their athleticism away. We're going to have awesome hip pressure and defense and head blocking and thumb blocking. We're going to have the best stance in America, because if your stance is big, it's big opportunity for your opponent, and your opponent doesn't have to be very good to wrestle you. If you have a small, tight, a world-class wrestling stance, feet wide, touch mat, don't let them read your shirt. Keep your left heel behind your left back pocket, right pec over your right knee. You should have our online wrestling academy. You would know that by now. And now it's small opportunity, and it requires a very, very skilled technical wrestler to get to my legs. So some of us you let average wrestlers in. It makes no sense. And there's power positions on top, bottom, front headlock offense, front headlock defense, and all of those positions as well. But you implement some of these things, and you're going to find that they're not going to have to wait very long. They're going to start winning right now. Lastly, we need to master the best 2 to 3 ways to score from the very, very common positions in wrestling. Someone's going to grab your head with a collar tie in a youth or high school wrestling mat 5, 6, 7, 8 times a match. Let's say 6 times. I've counted all this out 2 decades ago when I built our online academy, and I started building Purler Wrestling. 50 varsity matches 300 times a year. You little kids get 70 matches. Let's say 211 times this year someone grabs your head with a collar tie. Do you have, is it forehead to forehead collar tie, or ear to ear collar tie, or temple to temple? There's different attacks from there, right? So you want to master that. How about a front headlock? How about I'm on top, you stand up, I mat return you? That's going to happen 2 to 3 times a match. So you start looking at these positions that we're in all the time. Just master a couple ways to score from there. And like magic, they're going to start winning. So there's, I think, 5 little tactics there that can be very beneficial. And I'm getting ready to walk beautiful Augusta. Walk a nice long brisk walk, and then I'm going to sprint that hill. so I can stay in shape. But there's some good tips for you guys. Check us out, PurlerWrestling.com. Our online academy is also at PurlerWrestling.com. Summer camps, competition camps. Once a month we do competition camps. If you don't have a tremendous workout opportunity or program, that's for you. Private team camps, we'll come to your team. You can make money on those camps as well. And obviously we have our weekly academy. If you live in Missouri, Illinois, or Arkansas, we have locations all over, opening in Kentucky soon too.